Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michele. Today you're going to get a rant from me because we're talking about one of my least favorite topics to talk about when it comes to relationships and communication. We of course are going to be talking about modern day dating. And you can see I left ISO off the set because he has no need to hear about dating. He lives in a bowl. He doesn't want to hear about the frustrations of courtship, so I'm sparing him the details today. So there's two reasons why this is not my favorite topic. Number one, what most feel is a perfectly acceptable way to meet people with online dating apps and websites. It's not a real acceptable way for me because it's a direct compromise to some of my personal values and beliefs, and I'm going to share more about that in a minute. And the other reason why this is not my favorite topic is I consider the whole dating industry to be very dirty, and I will tell you more about that too. So of course, let me elaborate. I believe in authenticity and transparency. This is the core principles, or these are two core principles that I live by. I share these values with the people that are closest to me. Modern day dating apps and sites do not promote these values, and even if they say they do, using SMS communication counteracts that value. With SMS, it's easy to, SMS is texting, by the way, if that's too technical for you guys, but SMS is an easy way to experiment with communication, and many do, and so they take on, play different roles and play around with their behavior. It's very easy to be distracted when you're texting, so the communication is not really clear and thought out, and quite frankly, it's really easy to not give a shit about the quality of your communication in general when you're texting. And what makes me an expert on people not being authentic on dating sites? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you Google, I was catfish, and this is what I decided to do about it, you're going to find an article on Huffington Post written by yours truly, that, and it's going to show up on the first page of search because it's a very popular article, and I'll tell you why. What I decided to do about it, so I wrote that article, and you're going to have to read it to hit the whole story. I decided to do two things. I contacted some dating sites and asked them to crack down on what they're doing with fake profiles. Only one responded to me. And then I started a pledge called notextornext.com, which allowed people to take a stand for quality communication and illustrate why texting shouldn't be used in the early stages of getting to know someone. And I know people are hurting over their experiences online because every single week since I put that pledge up, people take it. And they're taking it from all over the world, and they're sharing their painful experiences and just wanting someone to listen and go, God, I can't believe this is happening. And in general, does the dating industry do anything about that? No, it doesn't appear so. So it's estimated that 1 out of every 10 profiles are fake. And that's not counting all the profiles that have one or more untruthful bit of information in the profile. But yet the industry continues to make billions and billions of dollars profits. And they're profiting, off a very basic human need, our desire to be connected and loved. You might have read on Vice News recently that reports of rape linked to online dating rise 450% in the last 5 years. That's wonderful. Anybody do anything about that? I don't know. But you won't hear the data from dating industry giants like Match Group or even get an honest assessment of how many profiles are fake. Instead, you're likely to come across a fluffy headline like the one I found on Mashable this week that says, this was the headline, "This dating app has a team of hip moms who help users navigate their search for love." Well, I investigated that. I actually, for the sake of my own curiosity and for the show today, downloaded the app that they were talking about last night. There's nothing special about this dating app, and the feature that the article was suggesting it had is nothing more than a glorified contact us that you have to muddle through FAQs to get to. So I don't know. The only conclusion that I can successfully come from this fluffy piece of fast food content is it was probably fake and paid for. I suspect if we followed how the article was made, how it made its way onto Mashable, there would be investors in the mix of it. By the way, shame on you, Mashable, for your clickbait and your fluffy, useless content. Come on, you guys, get it together. Like, this is, fake news and just massive amounts of fluffy content. Like, can't we be over this? It's 2018. Let's quit on the clickbait. Anyways, I suspect dating apps, as we know them today, are the safest investment for many VC portfolios. These investors will do anything to promote and protect their investment and squash any competitor that's trying to promote dating alternatives that are safer, less addictive, and that's a big part of this, and better for relational well-being. Those were just a couple of the headlines that I came across, and I have more that I'm going to share later. But if you are watching on Facebook Live right now, tell me some of the things that you've seen about dating or the dating industry, maybe headlines or articles that that really made you think differently or got you really frustrated. So share that now. And I could go on forever about this rant because this is a really frustrating topic for me, but my guest is not frustrating at all, and she has a lot of insight to add to this, so we're going to get right to her. So this is Bruna, and she is the founder of The Problem with Dating. Yeah, let's be real about it. A multimedia platform that discusses modern romance, self-love, and personal development. Her work has been featured in Cosmo, Huffington Post, Esquire, Bravo, and E! News, to name a few. She's currently a dating columnist for Playboy, and she's putting the final touches on her first book, Dear You, A Journey to Forgiveness, Understanding Love, and Letting Shit Go.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to be here, happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here, I can't believe you were catfish.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
We should talk about it.
We can talk about that. We'll get there. Yeah, okay. Let's bring it up again because I want this to be, I really was so delighted to find out about you, and I really like a lot of things that you stand for, so let's get that, and then we'll come back to me.
Okay,
if we have time. We can
focus on
yeah,
you.
Right? If we have time. So the first thing that I asked, no matter what we're going to talk about when a guest sits down here, is there anything that you just want to put out there before we go into the topic, like something that's just really pressing you?
Honestly, there was nothing until you did your opening monologue, and I just wanted to note that a lot of the things you mentioned are very important.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah.
And the loss of human connection because of our phones, smartphones, and the technology and internet and dating apps and all of that is something that is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And it causes people to be very comfortable with these halfway situationships,
yeah.
So I'm just really happy that you touched on that.
Yeah.
Because it's something we need to talk about.
It's crazy how what we allow as the social norm, even though we know it's not good for us, how we allow that. And what I see, and I talk a lot about this in general, is it's just fast food content, fast food relating. You're getting filled up for a minute, but it's not nourishing. It's like eating a bad, a meal of shame at 3 o'clock in the morning and, at a drive-through. That's what it is. It's not nourishing your soul in terms of relational well-being. So yeah, but that's not the thing anybody wants to talk about.
Of course not. And I mean, dating apps have definitely fueled that as far as junk food relationship. I mean, could you even really call it a relationship? You text here and there. And there are guys that I've matched with that I've never met in person. But years later, we're friends on all the social media. We text here and there. Right, friends.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, I feel like it's done so more to fill this void of just seeking attention.
Yeah.
You want someone to text. You want someone to text you back. You want that thrill of being like, oh my gosh, we're a match. They liked me. But are you really seeking a relationship? And I don't want to doubt that dating apps had that in mind from the get-go. They wanted to create something with the technology we have that provides a platform for people like myself who are busy, who would rather stay home on a Friday night and Netflix than get dressed up and go to a bar, to still be able to meet someone.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I've been on everything, practically everything. But what I've found, regardless of the app, is you still run into these people who don't want what you're seeking. So it's for me personally, I wanted to meet cool people, which I did for, a few times. But I did it in the sense of I wanted to cultivate a relationship. That's why I'm on this app. Making friends is cool, but I wanted this to progress if that's what I felt, could happen. but other people have different motives.
Yeah.
And that's fine too, as long as you're honest with your intentions, and most people
are not. And that's the biggest problem. And,
Yeah.
and like I said, and you know, in my rant is, it's just so easy. Like I hate blaming anybody. I don't want to blame the opposite sex.
Right.
If I'm going to put any blame, I think it's a little bit more about the technology and people taking responsibility for what has been created. But it's just so easy with this really shallow, sort of quick kind of communication to not give a shit. Right. You know, like you're not really, you know, focused on, hey, there's a real person on the other side of this conversation right. that might be really looking for something here. More of my experiences were men testing the waters, not necessarily totally out of their marriage kind of thing, and they weren't being honest about that, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I get it. It's like it's a real easy thing to do, and you've got friends going, oh, get back out there, you know, this is what you do. But we're forgetting that there are human minds, hearts, you know, connected
Absolutely.
To the other side of that equation. So it's really hard, or it's really easy to just fall into the pattern of like, this is what we do, you know, on these sites, and kind of keep it separate from what's important to you on the other side.
Absolutely.
For me, that comes with a certain amount of pain, because like it is important for me to be transparent and authentic, and playing the game, you know, of like short little flirty whatever, you know,
right.
and not asking hard questions, because people are going to like are going to quickly dismiss, oh, you're too difficult, you asked me a big question, like what do I want to do in life, you know, like you're out, you know, this girl
get to know me
you're right
time.
This girl's going to meet me tonight, you know, like I'm out, because but yeah, it's difficult. So let's back up. So you were in a relationship for a long time, mm-hmm. and then you entered back into the dating world with all this stuff in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Just go back to that moment, and what was that like learning dating apps and things?
You know, it was exciting in the very beginning, because you were committed to one person for so long. And my last relationship, we were together for about 3 years. He was very focused on wanting it to progress. Like, he mentioned marriage. He asked me once, like, what would you say if I proposed? And I was like, no. I would say no, because I knew we're not at a place where we could get married. And I wasn't just about to be like, yes, weddings and Facebook status. No, like the reality is we're not there. Yeah. And that relationship was substantial for many reasons, but I think that breakup was substantial because prior to that, I'd been in back-to-back relationships for like 10 years. So there was that, and this was the first breakup that it was very adult. Like, nothing happened for me to be like, oh, well, this is over. Like, I had to make the decision, do I see this person long term? Yeah. And the answer was no. I still cared about him, I still loved him, but I had to be realistic about where I saw my life heading, and realizing that's not the person I see beside me. Yeah. So that was difficult in and of itself. Then you become single, and it's exciting because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm single, and like, all of a sudden, all these people come out of the woodwork, and you're like, this is great. Look at all these men. But then it gets old so fast, because you start missing the substance of, I had someone who was there 24/7, who loved me for me, who was around, who I could hang out with and do nothing, who didn't expect anything from me. Mm-hmm. And then you meet so many people, and these are constant energy exchanges. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And then that was before dating apps even really started to boom. And once those did, it was heightened by like 100. Mm-hmm. Because now it's not just, oh, I meet a cute guy at Starbucks, or I meet a cute guy here, and then it falls through. There's 64 guys in my matched section who I either have to message or message me. And then it's like the same conversation almost. And then it just kind of dies. Or you meet, and then you're like, yeah. And it dies again.
You have to go through so much work to get through a maybe potential, you don't look like you're going to murder me on our first date. Right. Kind of, you know, you're not totally excited about it. Yeah. And I think too, you know, what you just touched on is like there's so many of them, the space is so crowded in them, that the organic moments that could happen in a Starbucks or somewhere else, guys aren't taking that chance anymore, because they're like, yeah, I've got 60 women in my Tinder app right now that I could reach out. Like, I'm not going to take the chance that this person's going to reject me, you know?
Well, it's not even just that. They don't have to, and they don't know how to anymore. Yeah. Communication just across the board is so bad now because people are constantly communicating through their phone. And they have the safety of the screen, so they don't really have to put themselves out there, only a little bit. But that, like you mentioned, makes people seem very disposable. You forget that there's an actual human being with feelings and all of that on the other side of the phone. So when you're in a place, the thought of, oh my gosh, I have to like actually physically go up, get your attention, talk to you, hope that you like me, see what I look like, you know, all of that, that's terrifying for most people now. Which is very unfortunate because like you, I'm big on the transparency and authenticity. That's like my mission. So it's tough for people like you and I who value those things because there's not a lot of people who also value that.
You know what just came up for me, like this topic, I'm literally like, I can feel like the frustration and the excitement too, because you know, to be able to talk about this and let people go, yeah, I feel that way too. You know, I feel it's an important thing to do. But what just came up for me is like, you know, maybe the emphasis on like that end result of like, oh, getting someone's number or whatever is just wrong to begin with. Like the idea of just smiling at somebody, like we're not even doing that in terms of quality of relating, of just allowing yourself to be in the world and be in the now with other people and just say hello, you know, like don't worry about if the person's gonna date or not, because I can guarantee, because so many people are not doing that or in their head down in their phone, a nice genuine gesture from someone to just say like, hey, I see you, I acknowledge you, is so charming and so nice to like experience.
Don't want to be seen.
I know.
Have you noticed how scared people get when you make eye contact?
Well, I think it's funny because I live downtown LA. This building is a high rise. I live in a high rise, so a lot of my life is spent in elevators. You know, I wonder how many seconds or hours I spent in elevators per year. It's interesting to me to see like how. To see the comfort level of another person in terms of how quickly they reach to their phone, and they're just like this. And I know for a fact in my elevator in my building, the phone doesn't work. So it's not like you're receiving an important urgent text. It's like you're just
safety net.
It's just and it's unfortunate, you know. We're in a very intimate space together, you know, and there's definitely opportunity. I think every time you encounter someone, there's opportunity to learn something. There's some beautiful thing that you could exchange with them. And I know this for the other part of my life. I rideshare exclusively. I gave up my car when I moved downtown. And Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, those conversations that I have with them are amazing. Are amazing. And so here's a situation where they can't have their phone. It would be a safe drive. They wouldn't be a safe driver if they're doing that. But you're in this intimate space, and it's just so cool to connect. So cool to connect, like different people, but we don't do that when the phone is involved. This is more important than this.
Yes.
It's so unfortunate.
It is, I know. But I think, at least I would like to think, no, I do think that we are collectively in a shift right now where more people are kind of starving for that authenticity. We've been around the bullshit for a long time. And so people are finally kind of over it and can spot it pretty quickly that they don't even want to entertain it anymore. And so that makes me hopeful because at least now there are more people who are like, you know, I'm ready for the real thing. Or at least if it's not necessarily love and relationships and that, but at least the human connection part. There's
definitely a realization, but the next step has to be doing something about it, because we both know, you know, girlfriends and guy friends maybe that are like, you know, talking about the situation, but it's like the definition of insanity. Well, what are you going to do differently to have a different result, right? So I think, I mean, technology has evolved so much. We need to evolve how we're relating, and the only way you're going to evolve how you're relating is to practice. Like we legitimately need to practice communication skills, like have exercises, like go-to things that you can do so you do feel comfortable when you're standing at a Starbucks, you know, talking to someone, you know, talking to a stranger, you know, or taking advantage of all the opportunities that you have to be in the world with other people and just communicate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so going back to your experience, so you experiencing a different world and probably second guessing if you should be in that relationship. Go back to that, huh? Because it was. You had the. I
mean, yes and no. I knew that relationship. We had our own issues, so that was done. But there were times, even years later, when I was like, wow, I didn't realize how romantic he was until I saw how many guys were not,
Yeah.
you know? Or just maybe they are, but they're not willing to show that side of themselves. And so there were definitely times when I was like, you know, that was nice.
Yeah.
I'm never going to find that again. Like that, those aspects. But of course I am. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's 7 billion people on the world.
It will happen.
You, like, it's okay.
Well, so why, what made you decide to start sharing your experience, and why are you still doing it?
Writing has always been very therapeutic for me. And when I first became single, I remember a very specific moment. I was at my friend's house, who was also my neighbor, and some guy friends were over, and I was just telling them about this instance I had while I was in San Diego.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a date, it wasn't anything. It was just me out with my girlfriends, and this guy was very inappropriate with the things he did and said. And the guy was like, this is insane. And he was like, you should write about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, he planted the seed, but nothing happened for a bit until I really felt like I wanted something outside of my job that was my own.
Yeah.
And that I could just let my creative juices kind of flow.
Yeah.
And so I knew that forever I wanted to write about love, relationships, and dating. I don't know why, I just did. And
It's important.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, maybe it was the self-doubt, but it was always like, why you?
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you have to say? Why should you be? But then I was like, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
self-doubt will happen. But I have stories, and if one person can relate to it, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
So I got the domain. I wrote the first story about the gray area, because that's what I was dealing with at that time. And it took me about like a month or two to actually publish it, because I was so nervous. I've been writing forever,
Yeah.
but my job that I was doing as a writer was not about my personal life. So there was that safety.
Yeah.
Now I'm about to air all my dirty laundry. You're going to know all of my dating like hazards, the way I process, the things I value, the way I react to things. And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But then I was like, it doesn't matter. Judgment does not matter. Like, this is my story, this is my truth, and I want to share it. So I did. And people enjoyed it.
Yeah. I can relate to that. So you asked me about, seems like an appropriate time to tell you about the catfish article. I went through all of that. Like, I knew that I was getting catfished, and I kind of let it go, you know, to just see what would happen. And then after it, I really felt that I needed to write from a voice of intelligence. And, you know, the first thing that you see a lot of times when someone brings up catfish is like, how are you so stupid? And it's not, it's so wrong for anybody to say that to somebody, because first of all, this is like the most vulnerable state that you're ever going to be in terms of, you know, your quest for love is a pretty vulnerable, you know, state of being. It's not stupid, it's just you're vulnerable. You know, you're open to like, I hope to being hopeful, right? But I knew I needed to write that from a place of like, look, you know, it's happening. Nobody's talking about it in the way that I'm going to talk about. I had to hold that article for a while before I released it, but I knew, like you, that people needed to see it. People needed to find it and read it, and I don't promote it. I hardly ever talk about it. I didn't even know if I was going to share it with you today, but every single week, someone reaches out to me because of that. Because at the end of this article, I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. And I set up this site with this pledge to just look at how you're communicating. Like, just this thing alone, just this text thing, it seems really simple. But if you really pay attention to how you're using that and what you accept as okay, like, that will literally change your experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, yeah, so like, it's not about, it's a little frightful to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, but it's also super relational to like be in the world and just be real about it. Like, we need to talk about these things. Like, I'm sure like our grandparents and our parents have no idea some of the crazy stuff that happens. Yeah. And we joke about like dick pics being sent to on dating apps. Yeah, it happens. Like, I mean, there are people you connect with.
Profile pictures that are dick pics. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow, that's ballsy, no pun intended.
Right.
Okay, just putting it out there.
It's crazy. It's the Wild West. Like, people, you know, and again, it's like a place that's, people are experimenting. Like, you know, in some ways, like the positive side, I think, of dating apps as people that are non-binary and, you know, never had like a, you know, a space for them in these apps, you know, so it's like you're male or female, or there wasn't, how do you really identify? It's really brought all of that to the surface so people can, you know, be honest and not experiment. So, you know, you knew that there were people of the opposite sex pretending to be the other, but they really didn't have a space for them. I get it. Like, they didn't have their own space, and it was easy for that kind of thing to happen. And now, you know, we've opened, that's a little bit more transparent. I'm happy for them,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but we still haven't addressed, you know, really how unauthentic the situation is, and, you know, it's, and what kind of, you know, the situations that it creates just by default.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, dating apps, because my website's called The Problem with Dating, I always get asked, so what's the problem with dating? Which there's plenty,
Yeah.
you know, there's not one answer.
How much time do you have?
I know. But dating apps always come up, and I agree to an extent. It obviously, it can create problems because of reach and, you know, everything we already mentioned.
Yeah.
But the root of the problem with dating is people.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get angry with dating apps and stuff like that, but the actual app is not doing anything. It's just creating a space for people to show their character, and sometimes it's really ugly.
Yeah.
And they feel safe in doing so. So it's, yes, the dating app is a facilitator, but there are good people on dating apps.
Yeah.
So you can't get mad at dating apps only. It's those who now feel like, well, I have a platform that I can act this way.
Yeah.
And that's their character. So it all, like, it gets way deeper than that, in the sense that people need to get a hold of some integrity and start to really value other human beings.
Yeah.
If you believe in the law of attraction, which you should, it's very easy to see if you weren't authentic, and if you did play the game, and if you did read books like Men Love Bitches and then think, well, I guess I gotta be a bitch now
Yeah.
to get a man.
Oh God, don't.
Who are you going to attract? You're not going to attract the person you actually want to be with, because you're not being yourself.
Yeah. Don't get me started on all the
Right.
talking heads,
Right.
all the relationship gurus and experts. First of all, if you call yourself that, stop it immediately. You are not a guru of relationships or an expert, because nobody is. This stuff is complicated.
Yeah.
And in order to, you know, evolve and keep learning, you got to evolve and keep learning. So you're not a guru and you're not an expert. Please stop. Because part of that's part of the problem. Because people read these articles, and they're the clickbait headlines and the fast food content, and there's the top 10 ways to get laid on Tinder. You know, and then they do it, and they don't stop to think, like, is this what I want? Is this aligned with what I believe in? And I agree full-heartedly that your role in it, your individual role in it, the people that are using them, that's the problem. Because you can't just look at it and go, well, everybody else is doing it, so I'm going to do it. It's like, you know, it is the new jump off the bridge analogy. Like, yeah, well, just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's going to be good for you ultimately. And you've got to, like, face yourself in the mirror with your behavior. And if that's okay for you, you know, then say it. Hey, you know, write it in your profile. I'm a total asshole. I'm going to be a dick to you. You know, I'm serious. Let's just get real.
At least you're honest.
I'm still half married, whatever it is that helps you get closer to the truth. Because there's a lot of those, you know. But yeah, you are the problem. It's not the app. It's not the technology. It's how you choose to operate. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So what are some of your values and beliefs in terms of dating, really? And then we can apply it to online dating. But just what are some of the values and beliefs that you hold?
I think I'm a deep person. You know, I don't like surface conversation. I can spot when someone's not authentic with me very quickly. So I appreciate people who can go there with me. I don't expect anyone to be perfect. I'm far from perfect. And so I'm not looking for a Ken doll with a clean slate, whatever. That's fine if you have things from your past, if you have issues you're still trying to work out, as long as you're actively aware.
Yeah.
I need someone who's self-aware and who is doing something about it, like you mentioned. So that's really, like, my number one. And I know the value that I can bring into a relationship, and I just want that reciprocated. So it's a matter of kind of weeding through and finding that.
So knowing that those things are important to you, is there how you date? Like what's, you know, is there a process that you keep to or things that you kind of stand by?
Well, I did the dating apps for a bit, and that was not helpful. I did meet some cool people. Like, I don't want you to think everyone on dating apps is horrible, because obviously I was on them, and I'm not horrible. But I've chosen to kind of let all that go, and I haven't been on one in years now, and I am steadfast in believing that I can still meet someone in just living my life, and I don't want to say by chance, because I don't believe in that, but just in real life.
Yeah.
And once that happens, I just feel it out. You know, for a long time, I was so quick to, oh my gosh, I met a cute guy. And then just start with all the scenarios and the questions of
the future tripping.
Okay, well, he does this. Would I like that? And what would it be like if we dated? And all this stuff. And now I'm just kind of like, stop. Because you're already subconsciously placing so many expectations. You met a cool person. Get to know that person.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you can build a friendship with that person. And if that friendship happens to bloom into something romantic, great.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, that's still great.
It's really, the emphasis shouldn't be the end result. The emphasis should be just enjoying someone's company.
Yeah.
You know, sure, maybe it's not going to be the love of your life, but give them the courtesy of enjoying their company, and vice versa. I think that, you know, every date that you go on should be like, I'm just gonna have a good time. Like I'm gonna make sure that person has a good time too. I'm not gonna do anything that compromises, you know, what I believe in. But
absolutely, and
I'm gonna have a good time.
I struggle with, because I am in the platform and environment that I am in, and the position I'm in, which I've for so long hated if someone called me a relationship expert or whatever, because of what you said.
Yeah.
I don't know better than you.
Yeah.
All I've done is take the time to assess my personal situation and share it with the world. And if that resonates with you, that's a beautiful thing. But if you come to me and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? By me giving you advice, I'm already limiting your chance of success, because I have completely different experiences and lifestyle than you do. I don't know what's going to work for you. You know what's going to work for you. You're just not doing it. So the possibility of you already knowing the answer but refusing to do it is usually the case. And for me personally, I've been single now for over 7 years. And that just, people with their judgment, it's hilarious how they will jump to conclusions about why that is. You're too picky. You don't give people a chance. What do you mean 7 years? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, why? One, is that any of your concern? And two, how do you know that?
Yeah.
You don't know all the dates I've been on.
Well, the crazy part of all that too is, like, I don't subscribe to identity through relationship. Like I'm whole and healthy and full without being in a relationship. So like the idea, I hate those judgments too, you know. And second of all, damn straight, I'm going to be picky. Like I'm a person that's always growing, that, you know, that cares about how I'm showing up in the world, that finds tremendous joy in just like the everyday things. Like I'm not letting a lot of drama into that situation. I have great friends. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be picky about it, and I would hope the other person on the other side is too. It's like it's not. I don't subscribe to identity through relationships, but I do subscribe to health and well-being through relationships. It's the number one factor of, you know, if we're going to live a long, healthy life, like being in healthy relationships is the number one factor to healthy well-being. Yeah. So if that means a bunch of girls, a good, you know, girls squad of friends or family or whatever, yeah, it's a blessing, right? Yeah. But I'm not, so anybody that kind of enters into that, like at least has to be at that level. Yeah. I'm not going to accept anything under that, you know?
Because most people aren't searching for a healthy relationship. They're searching for codependency, which is very unhealthy. And so when they see someone who can be single for a long time and not be miserable,
yeah, it's a little frightening, and we've got to judge it and label it.
It's triggering for some people. And I get that. I know they're just projecting, and it's not me. I did nothing to you. How can you be mad at me?
Yeah.
But it's sad, because instead of turning inward and being like, why does this make me angry? Which for some men, it may be the fear of rejection, and now I triggered a past you know, woman who's rejected them and they're taking it out on me, or with women who it's usually women who are in relationships that give me that judgment. It's because you settled and you know that.
Yeah.
But you want everyone else to do that too, so you don't feel bad about it.
This whole thing too, so what's coming up for me when you say this too, is like there's just so much judgment. It's so like, and judgment is not, you know, judgment is part of relating, but it should be like 5%, you know, and context should be, you know, 70% of it. So like really getting to know before you quickly judge my picture, my stupid 2 lines of profile, or
Right.
you know, or a quick thing that I say, what do I do, or you know, 7 years of single, whatever it is, like ask me a question, you know, but
Right.
well, why is that? And then I'll tell you, and people will tell you. I think that's the number one thing that we're not doing enough in terms of relating, is just before you quickly judge and rule somebody out, ask them a question,
Right.
you know, and literally, realistically, like if you want to get to know somebody and you want to, if you legitimately want to connect with somebody and you want to have an intimate relationship, whether it's friendship or, you know, dating, ask why questions.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of why questions, and if you think about it, and we talk about this on the show a lot, like your what friends, you got a lot of what friends. They know what you do,
Right.
but your why friends and your why family members, they know why you do it. And you're close to them. Like
Know
you've,
your why.
yeah. So, you know, when we start to exchange more why questions or get to a path of like, you know, even on a first date, you know, trying to work in a couple whys before you rule this person out. And you'll find something that you can connect to and admire them, because you're like, oh, now I get it. Like there's so much context to human relationship. And that's the thing that we're not seeing and remembering when we're connecting really fast like this.
Absolutely. Because that takes time and effort.
Yeah.
And we're a lazy generation of daters.
But it's so wasteful though. But we'll go on a bazillion bad first dates, you know, and do the same thing over and over again. Like so the dating app that I downloaded last night is Inner Circle. That was promoted.
I see ads for that everywhere.
I think it's a stupid name, by the way. I've resisted going on it. Well, I stopped too. I got off all of them, and instantly I felt better. I mean, like when they were off my phone, I can't even tell you how much better I felt about life. And then I had more time for friends, and I just felt better. And so I downloaded that because of that, you know, that headline on Mashable. And what's so funny about it, and I know you'll connect with this, is I swear over 50%, I'd say like over 50%, I didn't count, were profile pics that I remembered from being on it a year ago. So these are people, the men that apparently you're not very good at dating, or not dating for long-term relationship, because you're still here with the same picture. Like there's not a lot of like progress going on, you know, and it's just like, yes, so you're willing to go out, and maybe it's just about getting laid, and I get it. If that's what you're doing, that's fine. That's what it's, you know, maybe that's how you, it's a great platform for quick hookups. And actually, thank you for using the same picture, because now if I remember you, I'm like, definitely, like I'm ruling you out right away. I'm like, dude, I've seen your picture for a year now on the same platform.
You almost want to be like, hey, so how's it been?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
But at the same time, because that's happened to me too, where it's been across multiple apps.
Yeah.
It'll be like,
same guy,
I see
same
this
guy.
person on Tinder, and then I see them on Bumble, and then I see them here and there, and I almost want to just message them and be like,
pretty busy, aren't you?
Like, because obviously you're seeing me too on all these, but yeah.
But you don't know their pain. I mean, some of them, like I said, it might be like their thing. Like they're, you know, I have a couple guy friends that are bragging about their guy friends that are like, man, he's got a new girl every night, because like he does really well on these dating sites. And in his mind, doing really well is just random sexual encounters. I'm like, that's what he's looking for, and that's like, that's happening. Good for you. You know, some people are not looking for that. So, and again, it just comes back to, can we be more honest about that? You know, there are sites just for that. Go on those sites. Like, you know, get off the ones that are like talking about more relationship minded people, I guess. You know,
absolutely.
I don't know. I'm literally just getting more steamed up. I wish we had like 3 hours to talk about this.
We could talk about this all day.
We could talk about this. We could have part 2 and 3. So has anything changed? Like, have you set some principles or standards in dating that you abide by right now? Since
I think my biggest accomplishment is shifting towards focusing on myself, which I know people say that all the time, like, I need to focus on me, but really, you know, for a long time I noticed I was playing the victim, and I kept blaming the men in my life for how things would turn out, and not to dismiss responsibility for their actions when it wasn't ideal, but at the same time I really had to question, why do I keep attracting these people? Why do I keep attracting these people? Why do I keep them even though I know better? Why do I fight for them even though I know they're not the person for me? You know, and that all stemmed into my lack of self-worth. And so I was seeking for people, for men specifically, to validate my worth, which is the worst thing you can do, because you're never going to stop grasping for that. So once I realized that, there was a lot of internal work I had to do, and that's not easy at all. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of patience, and there's a lot of ugly crying and a lot of questioning and a lot of, you know, coming to terms with things about yourself that aren't pretty, and holding yourself accountable, and that's not easy, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. So it's easy to sit here and be like, yeah, men are trash and that's why I'm single, but that's not the truth.
It's not true. I
have so many valuable men in my life, and I'm so grateful for them, because they're the ones that remind me that there are quality men still around. Are some men trash? Sure. Are some women trash? Sure. It's the person, and like we talked about, character. But to overgeneralize, that's one thing I really don't like about the dating space, is, you know, all men are this or all women are that, and it's concerning, and it does a disservice, because that's not the truth. And you know that. That's
one of the main reasons I had to get off, because I started to hear myself say things like that, all men, and I'm like, I don't believe that, and I don't want to believe that. It doesn't support, you know, who I am. I mean, I think there's quality people in here, and if I focus on being one of those people, I think I have a better chance of connecting with others, instead of, like, you know, doing things that I don't believe in, which I felt very compromised on these sites, like, just in terms of, you know, I want to have, like, more of an authentic conversation, but you're kind of like playing the little cutesy texy, you know, and it's like, oh, this is so excruciating. Like, I really don't even have time for it. Like, oh, what cute little thing am I going to say? I'm like, God, I have, like, really way more important things to do right now, but, you know, but you play the game. But yeah, as soon as I found myself saying things like that, I'm like, I'm off. I don't want to look at the world like this. I don't want to have experiences like that, you know? So it was just easier to get off them than
it's easy to get sucked in, though. Even with my business and my brand, I had to check myself, because it was easy to kind of get the memes and the quotes and go down that route of the angry, bitter woman. But that's never who I intended to be. And I might get a lot of likes. I might get a lot of engagement, because people are like, yes, like, whatever. But that's not the message I'm trying to get across. And so I had to make a decision at some point. Am I willing, you know, what's more important? And that was a very clear answer. You know, the message I'm trying to get across of authenticity and vulnerability and transparency and all of that, that is my main goal. So if me posting reflective, introspective, deep quotes or things that make you think and challenge you about your own identity and beliefs and behaviors, and that makes you uncomfortable, that's not my problem. Because I'm not just going to feed you something that makes you comfortable. Tension
is an opportunity for growth. So if it makes you uncomfortable, you should study that, because that's where you need to grow. I mean, if you're responding to it, if you feel like you're going to put an angry comment post like a troll, that's probably something for you to work on. And an opportunity, really, like an opportunity for growth.
But then you have to accept that there's something wrong, and people don't like to do that.
Well, and that's the other problem too. So back to all of, like, the fast food content and the, you know, the so-called experts and do this, do that. Like, it's coming from a, you're not doing this right, and a place of you're broken, and it's like, no, you know, we got to stop listening to that and listen to our own self and be real about everything. So tough question that, you know, I want to ask you is, like, being real. You're like, what does you got? But I mean, we can put the memes out, we can kind of, like, you know, do the sound bites and talk about, like, how we feel about dating, but we also have to be real about being lonely and talk about that. Like, that's a real part of this, right? You know, so and it's okay, like, to say that, I have moments where I'm lonely, you know, that's okay. I also really like my alone time, and if you've knocked at my door at 10 o'clock at night, you know that, because I'm like, I'm not, you know, I want to be alone. But how do you reconcile that? Like, how do you be real about you know, those lonely times or feeling a little isolated, and what do you do?
There are moments like that for sure, and I'd be lying if I said there wasn't. I do also really love my alone time though, and when I'm home by myself with my candles on and my incense burning and I'm reading a nice book, like there are moments I'm just like, I'm so happy right now. Like I cannot imagine this being any other way. But when it does come to the lonely moments, there are plenty of people in my life who fulfill me and add value that I could call on. Like, yes, I can do things on my own, but you also need other people's energies around, good energy, of course. And so I'll just, hey, what are you doing? You want to go here? You want to do this? You want to go for a hike? You want to just chill and do nothing? That's my favorite thing to do. And I know that makes me sound some type of way. I do like adventure and being active also, but doing nothing with someone who means something is the best thing, in my opinion.
Well, it's probably not really nothing, because those are the opportunities to have a meaningful conversation and like to like really check in with a friend and exchange questions, like what's really going on with you. Like it's not ever nothing. You know, I like those times too. I mean, this is my fuel for the week, like being able to sit with someone and like look at their eyes and like feel their energy and like connect. Like it's like this could be perceived as nothing, but it's really something to me. You know,
this is totally something.
I can feel it. Well, good. So I'm glad, you know, getting real about that. Like I think the challenge that for someone to kind of take a stance and like work on themselves or say, you know, this is the social norm. But the social norm doesn't feel really good to me. It doesn't, I feel really compromised, so I'm gonna go do this. And doing this, or it's more like this, you're kind of like on a mountain by yourself, you know, it feels really lonely sometimes, but this is why we write, this is why we find this is how we can use technology to connect in a positive way. Like, you know what, I'm just gonna get real about this, and I know other people will find me. Absolutely. I call it a relational ripple. It's like, you know, just being, when you get to the point where you're like, I'm just flowing as authentically as I can, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, other people go, yeah, I want to ride that ripple with you, you know, and it gets bigger and bigger. And I think this is how you meet people. I mean, I really do. I think concentrating on that, about how you're showing up in the world and actually allowing yourself to feel good about that. And if you don't know how to feel good about that, I'm going to tell you at the end of the show, because it takes a little work to exercise, like to connect with people. But doing that, then you appreciate more of your interactions. You want them to be quality, and then you don't feel so alone at some point. You know, it does. But the first stance, I'll be honest, and tell me if you agree with this or not, the first time you take a stance for something that's not the social norm, it does feel kind of isolating.
Oh, completely. I felt very alone for a long time. And obviously, I have plenty of great friends and family and people who supported me and believed in me, but that doesn't discount those moments when you're like, does anyone really understand what I'm trying to do? Do I even understand what I'm trying to do? Like, you feel crazy sometimes. But the more authentic you are with yourself, then you start drawing those people. And the people I've been drawing into my life, it's insane. I'm just like, you are the perfect confirmation that I'm doing something right. And so that's very fulfilling. I've experienced that too. So anybody that's like, oh, I'm kind of right there, you know, I'm just taking a stance for myself and feeling a little alone, like I can only say and encourage you to just keep on it, because the more authentic that you are, the more people come into your life that are connecting on the same level that you want, and it just starts to flow. Like it just becomes really easy, and it does take that leap of faith to go, you know what, I'm going to do this thing. Like I believe in myself enough. I love myself enough to take this step, and it does come back to you. It is a law of attraction, spiritual energy, support, whatever you want to call it, it does happen. Absolutely. Oh, that's the hopeful side of this. So you want to look at some headlines that I picked out for us to talk about? So let's see. Here's a fun one. So this is just in the last week, you know, dating news. So can you choose a romantic partner just by their voice? A dating app thinks so. This was on NPR. So there's a new app called Waving that people just record a little voice, and then you don't see any pictures, and then you match or swipe left or right. You know. I mean, I can understand the attraction or the stern no of hearing a voice. But that's not enough. That's not enough. Well, and how I look at this, it's just another way to quickly judge somebody, and that's part of the problem. So I would go, not so much. I've heard the smelling one. You know, there's like ones where you wear a T-shirt for a week,
and it gets all your pheromones and your stinky on it, and you put it in a bag and send somewhere.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember what it is, but there's parties that people go to and anonymously smell t-shirts and they go, oh, I want to meet this person.
It's like you're willing to do all of these things, but not just go outside and talk to people.
I know. That's crazy. It's such a good point. Such a good point. Okay, here's another one. Now your Twitter followers can submit applications to date you. This was on Mashable. So there's a new app. It's Apply to Date, where you build basically a resume and then you share that link on all your social media. I'm like, well, I'm going to share. What do you think? So it says, what page? Yeah, so the intention is you get a URL that's your dating resume that you can now share in all your social media profiles.
I mean, I can understand the efficiency with that.
What do you really want to say? I can see it.
That's not, like, there are plenty of guys I've dated who looked great on paper.
Yeah.
But chemistry and in person, it wasn't cutting it. And it was one of those things where people around me would be like, what? Like, why didn't this work out? You know, and I'm just like, you don't take into consideration how two people are vibing with each other.
Yeah.
Like, there is energy involved.
Yes.
And that's very important. I don't care where you went to college or how many degrees you have or how much you make a year. Those are just like add-ons. That doesn't really matter to how I feel when I'm around you. Yeah. That's the most important. So anything that has to do with digital, you're not going to get that.
That's kind of how I feel about it too. And plus, putting that, so you know, they want you to put that URL on all your social media profiles. And like, I already get a bunch of direct message, hey lady, hey baby, hey pretty, hey, like, and I'm like, I don't. And I am a communicator and I value communication. I instantly start to like feel pain because I'm like, I'm not going to answer a lot of that. There's really no reason to, but I don't want to put something more out there and then people to give me, you know, to do the short tricky SMS, you know, nonsense, to lead to the same nonsense that we're talking about. So I'm going to on that one too. I'm going to swipe left on that one. Okay, this one. These Redditors, you know, so on Reddit, made graphics to visualize their dating lives. Here's what they can teach us. This is on Washington Post. So there's a whole string of Data is Beautiful on Reddit, where they've basically showed their entire process of like how many people they connected with, and then out of those, like how many even said anything and how many ghosted, and like it's just excruciating to look at these graphics, but it's a good portrayal of it, like how much relatable. Yeah, well, how much you got to do to get down to the maybe, I'll go out on a date with this guy, you know, and then it peters out from there. So they were charting paths from initial messaging to random hookups, from quick interest to gradual ghosting, from fierce first dates to pushing through the fatigue to get to a long-term relationship.
I'm exhausted just from hearing that.
I know, right?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But that's the truth of the matter.
It is the truth of the matter. The last one, I found this today. This new dating trend is even worse than ghosting. You want to know what it is? Have you heard about this?
Haunting?
No, it's called mosting.
Oh, what is that?
So it's like, so ghosting, of course, is when a prospective partner completely vanishes from your life after a series of dates. Yeah, because he's a real hero. Or she. Girls can ghost too. With mosting, the prospective partner lays it on thick, more or less convincing you that you are the one, and then ghost you. And as with ghosting, you're left totally blindsided and wondering, why put in all that effort?
Definitely experienced that.
Yeah. Mosting, I have too. Yeah. Now there's a term for it. It's so prevalent.
So interesting.
We got to. Why do people do that?
Ghosting?
I think it's so. That actually was the nail in the coffin of why I got off all the apps, because I had a experience, went out with like 4 or 5 dates with this guy, and it was a great connection. Like, you know, he was calling and texting, like, can't wait to see you, making dates, making plans. And then completely, like, I can't see you anymore, which I think he was married. I think what happened is, like, he actually didn't expect to actually care about somebody, but wouldn't acknowledge that. And then just, like,
it's just so rude.
It's so rude.
All of it is so rude. I recently wrote a piece for Playboy on ghosting. It's not published yet, so keep an eye on that.
Keep an eye on that.
But mosting, that's like most of my interactions with guys. Like, all of these past 7 years, I've had a few substantial situationships that will be in the book. Yeah. And that's the part that really leaves you confused. It's not just ghosting. It's one thing if someone ghosts you and it was kind of never there to begin with. Then you can at least be like, okay, well, they weren't into me, whatever.
Yeah.
Still rude, but like at least you have something to fall back on. But it's when they put in effort, they tell you how amazing you are. They tell you that they've never met someone like you and how they're so lucky to be around you and how they appreciate you. So all this stuff.
And then
disappear. And it's like,
so rude.
Why did you do that?
So mean. And you know, my friend, if you've done this before, karma. Just gonna say it because it comes
personal.
back.
I did nothing to cause
it's
you to
hard
do
though,
that.
because you know, as a person that cares about how you're showing up in the world, you start to wonder, like, what is it? But I think it's more someone playing the game, playing the numbers, keeping enough people interested, you know, whatever. And I shouldn't make it that it's just this one thing. There's a lot of context, I'm sure, why somebody would do that, but it's not a cool thing to do. It's really not a cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's common courtesy. Guys, like, if you don't like that person or if you don't see it progressing, just say that.
Yeah.
People are so afraid of confrontation. It's like, do you realize how much worse it can be if you just try to vanish?
Totally.
And like the pain that you're leaving this person now, because in my article I mentioned ghosting triggers abandonment issues. And so you don't know what this person has experienced in their life, and you think, well, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to talk about it, I'm just going to leave, they'll forget about me and just ignore it, whatever. But you don't know what they're going through on their own because of what you did and what that's bringing up for them. So the least you can do as a decent human being is to just
be honest.
Let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like days you'll spend wondering about that. It's like basically putting an emotional time bomb in your system, because it's going to go off and you're like, what? But yeah, it's just nicer just to be just to be real.
So many deep sighs.
I know, just to be honest. Come on, can I just, if we're going to do anything with this show, can we just encourage people to be a little more honest? Try honesty. It's like that's our PSE right now, our PSA. Try honesty, period, the end. That's it. That's all we need to say.
Honesty is an expensive trait, and cheap people cannot fulfill it.
Ooh, there's a good quote. Say that one more time.
I don't even remember what I just said. It's so good.
Yeah.
Do you?
Honesty?
Honesty is an expensive trait, so cheap people cannot fulfill it, is I think what I said.
Oh, that's awesome.
Whatever. Any version of that is true.
Something like that. All right. Well, we are like nearing the end here. Sometimes I ask random questions. We really could talk about this. I mean, forever. And I encourage you. I hope you guys are talking in the stream. I hope you have questions. I hope that you make a date or a commitment to see a friend and talk this over. Like, that's the other thing that we're not doing enough. We have so much trauma in the media, so much stuff that we're processing all the time, and we don't even call it trauma, but it feels like trauma. Shootings and the political system, and you know, and as soon as you hear one thing that you're saddened by, then another one hits you, and you're like,
you don't even have time to grieve.
Yeah. So you know, if there's two things that we're going to leave people with, is be honest. If you're dating, just try honesty, and two, don't forget about the relationships that you have, and make the time to reach out to them and experience human interaction and connection, and call a friend when you're like feeling something that you need to get over. Don't go through things alone. There's no reason that we need to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Yeah. Water the relationships.
Right. Do you have anything to add to that? What else do we want to leave people with about dating? Or
first of all, love is real. It does exist. Please don't feel like it doesn't. The love that you want to get, or the love that you seek, starts with yourself. So if you want to attract authentic, committed, loyal, all that good stuff, make sure you're that person. Make sure you're able to show up for your partner in that way, and that's how you're going to attract those people. We said honest with your intentions, but most people are not honest. So then you need to be very strong in your discernments. If you see this going downhill, or if you know they're telling you, I'm not ready for a relationship, and yet you keep trying to make it so they're going to be ready for you, who can you blame at the end of the day? I mean, you have to learn how to let things go if they're not serving you, and just stay hopeful, because it's there. You just have to be willing to kind of open up to it.
I love that. I love it. All right. So we're going to do one more thing.
Okay.
So on this show, and this is very connected to everything that we talked about, I like to give guests a chance to express what we call a heart swell here, which is just giving a shout out to someone that just deserves to like feel your love and like your support and like, you know, an acknowledgement like that just, you know, that's really meaningful to you. And the reason that I ask everybody to do it is I want to show that it's not that hard. And it's so wonderful. Like I hear the stories afterwards when someone shares this of, you know, what it meant for the other person to receive. And it's just so amazing. And I want to put more of that energy out in the world. So I'm hoping, you know, that every time I ask someone, it encourages someone else watching to go and do the same, to pick up the phone and go, you know what, I love you, you know? Aww. So does someone come to mind, or it could be more than one? Yeah.
I mean, it's a blessing to know that there are multiple people I could do this for. But the person who came to mind is one of my best friends, Nikki. She's at work, so I don't know if she's watching because she might get in trouble if she is.
We archive. It's cool. We'll make sure she sees.
I'll send it to you, girl. She is, and I tell her this, so this isn't news to her, but I do believe in soulmates. I don't believe in our traditional definition of soulmates. You have many soulmates, and they're not just romantic relationships, and I believe she's one of mine. She's so amazing as a human being, and I tell her all the time, you are someone who's shown me unconditional love. Like, if there's anyone that shows me a good example of what it is to receive that and for me to reciprocate that with, it's her. So, shout out to you, girl. Love you. Thank you for being such an amazing friend.
Aw, that's awesome. You know, and just in sharing that, the idea of like kind of seeking out somebody that is the mentor to show you how to experience unconditional love, or you know, this is the other thing that we can't not forget is in our path to like intimate relationships is like you need to surround yourself with people that are already doing that. You know that you know you can have mentor couples or just people that already have what you're seeking, so you can learn from that and keep it in your system, keep it in your relational wellness,
and
so,
also just to know it exists. It's hard to strive for something when you don't witness it, you don't have it around, and then all of a sudden you start to question, like, am I reaching for something that's unattainable or just made up? Is this a fairy tale thing? And it's like, no, these relationships exist. It's just unfortunately they're not as celebrated as the ones that are the opposite. So you lose hope.
But yet every person, so we get this myth of like independence, and we see everybody's Instagram and they're like the selfies by themselves, or they're 10,000 followers, but people helped them get there. You know, we don't hear that story enough. Like, people supported you, encouraged you to get there, and like those are the people that we need to talk about. And
Nikki was the first one to read my problem with dating posts before I would publish them.
Nice.
And I would send them to her, and I'm like, do I sound crazy? Do I make sense? And she was like, what do you mean? This is amazing. And I'm just like, all right, I'm going to publish. Go read it. Go share it.
That's awesome. Well, we could go on forever, and we're already over time, but I wanted to because it's so needed to just have this heart-to-heart conversation about dating and just be real and like take the time to sit back and go, you know, I got to do things that align better to me, you know, that align to my values and beliefs. And I 100% believe that's the path to meeting someone. I really do. Yeah. So I really, really, really thank you for being here. I'm sure we're going to have you back, because we could have a part 2 and a 3 and a 4 on this.
Part 62.
62.
Dating.
To learn more about Bruna's work, you can go to theproblemwithdating.com, and then everywhere on social media, she's prob with dating, so PROB with dating. And I usually issue a social challenge of the week. Okay, so let's think of what we could kind of, I mean, we've already sort of said it. Just try honesty. Could we just say that? Can we just like try honesty this week? I mean, practice out in real life. You know, maybe it's a compliment. Maybe when someone asks you in small talk, how are you doing? You actually give them the real answer.
Right,
you know? Yeah.
No one's ever fine.
Yeah.
There's always something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try honesty. And if honesty feels like, so we live, especially in California, we get really focused on negative and positive energy. Don't focus on that. You know, focus on meaningful interactions. So sometimes you have to be real, go a little negative to get to that meaningful interaction. And so you know, maybe not start out when someone asks you, well, here's all my problems, but you know, but be honest about that, you know. And if it's uncomfortable for you to be honest about some of the unfavorable moments in your life, maybe ask the other person, is it okay that I share this? You know, so you feel better. Like, do you have time for me to tell you I'm kind of having some problems right now, or I'm having some hard time working out some stuff. Do you have some time for me? You know, whatever it is. But
I love that challenge.
Yeah, try honesty. Try how much more honest. Last week it was how much more awareness could you be that you're in the world with people, like in the now. And this week is how much more honest can you be? Try honesty.
If it spills over into the next week and the following week and the week after, even better.
Then you're like an evolved person. Oh my God.
Honest. Oh my gosh.
I know. I love it.
Amazing how that happens.
Try honesty. If you do it, you can reach out to both of us. Remember, Prob with Dating. I'm Love More Now on Twitter, and Relate with Steph everywhere else. And then the last thing that I get to share today. So tonight is a PSE night. It's called Public Shared Experience. It's an event that I've been putting on for over a year now, and it is an opportunity to practice relating skills. And not only do we do that, not only do we practice safe communication, we get so open in the room of strangers that people feel okay and comfortable enough to turn to the next person and go, I think I sense this about you. I think I'm supposed to say this. So it gets really, like, really spiritual and awesome, like that, you know, that we're supposed to connect. Like, to me, it actually is the human condition and how we're supposed to feel to connect, but yet most of our experiences don't feel that way, so we don't believe it's true.
Right.
So I watch people like have this experience with each other and then leave going, oh my God, like, you know, like, how do I keep doing that, you know? So it's really cool. We do this at the Relational Center, which is kind of mid-cities here in Los Angeles, and you can find out more information. There's still a couple spots available on my site, stephaniemichele.com. And that for sure brings us to the end of the show. I'm so glad that you were here.
Thank you for having me.
I think we're going to have you back, or we're going to have to do something to help more people. So with that being said, you know, I'm going to encourage everybody, like I always do, to relate with more curiosity. You cannot go wrong with curiosity. If you stop and ask questions and, you know, kind of slow down the judgment and speed up the curiosity, I guarantee you're going to have better actions with people. So it's always relate with more curiosity. And then until next week, I'll see you next week. Oh, Chris Denson, Innovation Crush. He's on next week. He says he can innovate anything, and we're going to try to innovate social interactions. So it should be a good show. Tune in. Cool. Bye.
Bye.